If you want to put a highlight film together of Jordan Mailata's best blocks, you're going to think you have Quentin Nelson. But if you go to that low light tape, it's not good. And that's the problem. You gotta figure out how to eliminate as many of the bad plays as possible and tap into that natural athletic gifts, because he's got a ton of them.
He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. That would make us Mac and Mac, and that makes this Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media Channel. We're going to stick around for another hour. Coming up this hour, it's crossover week here on Birds 365 and the rest of JAKIB Media Channel personalities. First up today is John's buddy, John's pal, his numero uno amigo, Eitan Shander, who you've hinted at kind of likes to pimp you when he gets on his show. We should have some fun with Eitan. He's going to join us coming up about 20 minutes from now. Tomorrow we'll get H. Mays from the middle on as well. Harry Mays is going to hop on with us this week. So we're going to do a couple crossover spots with the guys from the middle. We've already had Barrett on plenty, so we needed to do the right thing to get Harry and Eitan on. We'll do that this week. Looking forward to talking to Eitan coming up about 20 minutes from now. Thank Russ Tucker immensely. Russ Tucker for coming on with us. Gives a solid half hour of his time and his insight. I knew ahead of time he was a Mailata guy. I had forgotten how big a Mailata guy he was.
Him and Baldy from day one. Where I joke, had Jordan, getting, and that's a big gold jacket, by the way, 6'8". They had him look, the guy has got tremendous physical gifts. And I think what Ross said about he can do things other people that people can't do. The problem is he started from literally ground zero, didn't even know how to put on a helmet his first practice. I was there. He had no idea how to play professional football. So, some people have speculated maybe that's better. You can build him up with good habits. There's no bad habits he learned at the high school or college level. Jeff Stoutland is a tough guy. Anybody who's ever met Jeff, I mean, he's not grading on a curve. So he's not saying, oh, great, big guy, when he makes a good play. He's always harping on the consistency, just what Ross said, and that's not there yet. Understandably so. I mean, if you want to put a highlight film together of Jordan Mailata's best blocks, you're going to think you have Quentin Nelson. But if you go to that low light tape, it's not good. And that's the problem. You got to figure out how to eliminate as many of the bad plays as possible and tap into that natural athletic gifts, because he's got a ton of them.
And as talented as he is and as highlight reel plays as he may have made, I meant what I said when I asked the question. The way that I asked the question, I'm not giving up on Andre Dillard.
No, either are they.
And I'm glad to hear that. I know Ross is a big fan. I really do hope that is an open competition. I know your point of the fact that Mailata showed much more of an ability to transfer to the other side. I understand that. You're putting together a roster, you're making a decision, and flexibility can be part of it and probably should be part of it. But I hope that it's not here. It's the starting left tackle position that we've gotten to. As far as I know, we're not bringing back the guy who's played that position for the last decade. Jason Peters is, at least at this moment, Jeff Lurie could jump in at any second, out of the Eagles' plans for left tackle. So one of these two youngsters is going to take over the key offensive line spot. May the best man win. Let him compete it out. Give it to the guy who earns it and deserves it. Certainly you don't go rotational on the offensive line. Somebody's going to win the job, and the other guy's going to be a backup, plain and simple. Sorry to the loser. You had a fair and honest shot to win the position. I'm good with either one. If Dillard wins, I'm going to be good with that. I'm not going to lament the fact that Jordan Mailata's got more physical gifts. No. Best man wins. If Mailata wins, I don't care that they use the first-round pick on Andre Dillard. I just want it to be a flat-out fair competition for the left tackle spot. Whoever wins the job, stick them in there and let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the theme we had before Ross came on. We're talking about this competition. And here's a case where I think there is going to be a competition. But even that, Jody, I mean, there are things about this league that are real. And Andre's a first-round pick. Now, look, this coaching staff didn't take him in the first round. They have no skin in the game. So maybe some of that luster is off. But Howie Roseman wants him to succeed. So that's a real part of this. I mentioned, Ross lasted, I think, 7 years in this league by doing what he said. He played every position, because he was a backup offensive lineman. He had to. Andre Dillard's a first-round pick who can only play left tackle. He's got to play left tackle. That will factor into this. And I don't know if Nick Sirianni's going to make that decision, to be honest. It might be Howie Roseman. Might say, we got to play Andre Dillard at left tackle. And you fill in from there. Jordan is a more versatile player. That's why I brought that up with Ross. That's how it figures in as a backup in this league. Now, ultimately, if he falters at that point, Andre Dillard, then you can go to Jordan Mailata, and then okay, it's over. Let's raise the white flags. But all this plays into that competition, Jody. And that is my cynicism. And maybe I've been a reporter too long, but when people talk about let the best man win, it's rarely let the best man win in this league.
Right. And there are only going to be so many competitions for the Eagle positions this year. That is one of the key ones. And I think that is one where they should, in my opinion, should be starting flat out 50-50. Neither one with an advantage. I don't care that Dillard was drafted that much higher than Mailata. I don't care that Mailata might have more physical gifts and does give you flexibility. No, let it be. May the best man win the left tackle position. That's why I hope it works out. Although they are saying there's a quarterback competition, we all know and believe there is no quarterback competition. It's going to be Jalen Hurts' job. That's why I threw those numbers out to both you and to Ross. Carson Wentz's numbers from his rookie year. I get it. It's not Jalen Hurts' rookie year. And I get it that Jalen Hurts is going to have more prep time in the preseason to get ready for his first year starting. The thing that was the same between the two is first year as a starter in the National Football League at the beginning of the year. Carson Wentz did it as a rookie. Jalen Hurts is going to do it as a second-year player. We saw what Carson's numbers were. They weren't off the charts great. They weren't overwhelming by any stretch of the imagination. And then after he got his first year under his belt, we know what he came back and did in his second year, MVP-like numbers. I'm just wondering, will Jalen Hurts be given the same grading curve? If his accomplishments are similar, comparable to what Carson Wentz did in his rookie year, will that earn Jalen Hurts that second year to show that he is, I thought Ross said it well, you want to believe that in 2022, the Eagles are going to have a franchise quarterback, be it either Jalen Hurts because he's been that good and put his stamp on it and said it's my job, or that they've traded for a guy who's already established as a franchise quarterback with another NFL team, or yes, they've used a top 5 pick and they're going to do exactly what they did with Carson Wentz, just hand the job to him. Yes, the Eagles are going to have a franchise quarterback in position 2022. Will the type of year that Carson Wentz had be enough for Jalen Hurts to be that guy in 2022?
No, it won't. It'll be the exact opposite. And because, this is not a statistics-based game, Jody. Everything is not in a vacuum. We always talk about football as a whole. You need so much to go right on any given play. If the left guard misses a block, it can blow everything up. The quarterback can look bad. Whatever. Wide receiver can drop the football. Whatever. Evaluations and traits mean something. Carson was the second overall pick for a reason. The Eagles traded up to get him for this massive reason. And by the way, the revisionist history, nobody saw 2017 coming for Carson Wentz. We all said maybe the Eagles can make a run towards the playoffs if he can take a significant step forward in year 2 as a starter. Nobody was saying, oh, he's going to be an MVP level player in his second season.
That's true.
But the Eagles evaluated him very highly and thought he had the physical traits, the skill set to be a superstar quarterback in this league. Again, pedigree's not the be-all, end-all. We talk about it all the time. The best quarterbacks in the history of this game, the modern era, Joe Montana, 3rd-round pick, Tom Brady, 6th-round pick. There are outliers, but benefit of the doubt. I just talked about it when Andre Dillard. You're going to get the benefit of the doubt as a number 2 overall pick. You are not going to get the benefit of the doubt as a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick. Might not be fair, probably isn't fair. And you can point to that and go into Howie's office after the season and say, hey, Jalen had better numbers than Carson. You know, he's going to say, get the hell out of my office. I mean, I got to go get myself a quarterback. It's got more to do about evaluation. I know you threw that 16-14 number out there. If those are the numbers, he's not going to be the quarterback of the Eagles in 2022. He's got to do better than that. But the good news for Jalen Hurts is he does have an opportunity. He's going to get an opportunity. And if he plays well, and if he plays better than that, and Ross also brought up some points about he's got a better offensive line on paper if guys stay healthy. He's got better receivers on paper if Devontae Smith is what we think he's going to be. If Jalen Reagor can stay healthy, he's got better skill position players. So, and in some ways, he's set up a little bit better. I do think people look at this offense and say, where are the weapons? Because of the receivers. Well, yes, Devontae's got to play well. Jalen's got to stay healthy and improve dramatically. Miles has got to get back to his rookie sort of standard. Dallas Goedert has got to be what everybody thinks he can be, and that's a top tight end. If those things happen, he's got a good supporting cast.
Does, but yes, I agree with you that the bar is going to be set at a little bit higher than probably maybe you or I think, mostly me, think is going to be fair, because I know that Carson Wentz did what he did, the progression of Carson Wentz from year 1 to year 2 as a starter. I know Jalen Hurts would be year 2 to year 3, but he only did get a chance to start 4 games. So I think a better comp, Jalen Hurts rookie year to Carson Wentz rookie year, no. The better comp is the first year opening day starter compared to the first day opening day starter. I think that's kind of harsh, borderline unfair, although I think you're right, that Jalen Hurts is going to have to go above and beyond what Carson Wentz did.
Yeah,
Carson Wentz did it and then took that mega step up the second year. You're right. Nobody predicted it. Maybe not Carson's parents thought he could take that massive step that he took. But why shouldn't Jalen Hurts? Just because he's a 2nd-round pick rather than the 2nd overall pick? That's the reason why he needs to achieve that much better to hold on to that job?
You know, you as a Jets fan know better than anybody else the story of Mo Lewis, who was a hero in a moment, you know, knocking Drew Bledsoe out of a game. And everybody's like, oh, the Patriots are done. The Patriots are. Then you have 2 decades of misery, 2 decades of absolute misery. But again, I use that term revisionist history. At the time, everybody was like, when are we getting Drew Bledsoe back? When can we possibly get Drew Bledsoe back for the New England Patriots? And Tom Brady turns into Tom Brady. That's no, Jalen Hurts is not going to be Tom Brady. Let's be realistic. But he has that similar type of opportunity. No one expects it of him, but he has that opportunity. But yeah, he's going to have to play a more elevated position. He's going to have to do better because there's more question marks than a guy like Drew Bledsoe, a former, top overall pick, a guy like Carson Wentz, a former 2 overall pick. Pedigree is real in this league, Jody. It is very, very, very real.
It is, and in a capped league, the commitment that you've got to a guy and what you're paying him is actually part of the equation, which you would hope that it wouldn't be, that it would be all a meritocracy. You get what you earn and deserve, but it's not. It's where you were picked and what a kind of a commitment they made to you. And like, that is certainly part of it, even though I don't like it, but I have to acknowledge that that is the way that it runs. Point we haven't touched on yet, know that you know it full well. Zach Ertz no-show at the Eagles minicamp yesterday, which, by the way, I asked a couple other guys as well. I think the term you used was considerable amount of players in attendance at phase 2, the first of the optional off-season workouts. Certainly Zach Ertz wasn't part of it, and none of us expected it to be. But the Eagles did get a good number of guys that showed up. What does that tell you? That I saw a couple other reports from around the league. Some teams had many as 80 players there.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Eagles had 80 yesterday, but they were one of the earlier ones who got out and said, yes, we're taking advice from the union. We're going to take optional to mean optional. We want to do our virtual work on Zoom and we'll work up by ourselves, but we're not planning on going into the facilities. A pretty good number of Eagles showed up at the facilities yesterday. What do you make of it?
The league and the players union have been discussing these issues behind the scenes. And when you mentioned the NFLPA came out with all these statements from the teams, that was pre-negotiation. They've talked about scaling back into more of a teaching mode. A lot of teams have done it individually. The Colts have been, pretty above board about it. They're not doing much on-field work, so it's more of a classroom environment, and players have agreed to come into that. You mentioned Denver, I think, had 70 plus. Miami had 70 plus. Eagles, I expect to be in the same range. And it's going to be more of a teaching environment, not as much as an on-field competitive environment. Coaches have kind of pushed that over the years, tried to push the envelope. Baltimore is famous for that. They've gotten fined a number of times. If you're out on the field, they've talked about wearing sandals, so you can't do much to create a true walkthrough environment. So that's where the Eagles are. And Nick Sirianni has said, he expects a lot of people. They just did COVID testing yesterday. So today's the first day for the Eagles, technically, of that phase 2. But yeah, there's going to be a significant number of players there. They're not going to do much on-field work other than walkthroughs, legitimate only walkthroughs. And that's sort of the compromise the league and the union has tried to come up with.
All right, McMahon, I'm going to put you to the test again here. I gave you Carson Wentz's numbers in his rookie year and said, if Jalen Hurts were to put up these exact same numbers, would that be enough for the Eagles to not go in a different direction with quarterback, be either a trade and or to draft a quarterback high? Let me give you these numbers instead, okay? Let's say has an injury, misses a couple of games. We're not going to put him out there for all 16. Let's say he starts 14 games out of 17 this year. Completes 63% of his passes. Not great, not terrible. Let's say he throws 18 touchdown passes and 12 interceptions. That's a little better than the Carson numbers. Carson's were 16-14. I'm moving it to 18-12. Let's say he throws for 200 yards a game and has a quarterback ranking of 86.5. Does that get Jalen Hurts the starting nod in 2022?
Well, I'm like Ross. I don't think it's about numbers, but if you want me to look at those numbers, the first number that jumps out at me, if he goes from 52 to 63%, that's a big positive for me. So right. Number one, I mean, that is a huge step forward. How many games is he winning? I think that's more important. Even though wins and losses are often unfair for a quarterback, you have to be realistic about it. So are the Eagles winning 10 games or are they losing double digits? That changes because both could be the case with those types of numbers. But ultimately, look, we've talked a lot about FU players over the past couple of days. Can they get to Deshaun Watson? Then no, it's not good enough. Can they not get to Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson? They're not going to get Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it is good enough. Maybe if he's top 20, as Ross said, maybe it's good enough, but only if it's only good enough if you can't get an FU player.
The reason why I'm sorry.
If they can get that type of player, no, it's not good enough.
Right.
So
and I think Deshaun Watson is an FU player.
Yes.
Sam Howell's not an FU player. I'm sorry. I don't care that he gets picked with the third pick in the draft or the second pick or the fourth pick.
Well, there's a long way to go between evaluation. I mean, we saw it this year. The Eagles didn't think Justin Fields is an FU player. You do.
Yes.
Or an FU prospect, I think, is maybe the best definition of him. Eagles didn't think that. Obviously, they had an opportunity. It always depends on the evaluation. They seem to like Zach Wilson. I don't know. I like Justin Fields better than Zach Wilson.
So do I.
But it's all personal.
I was wondering if you'd notice why I gave you the numbers that I gave you, because I gave you Carson Wentz's numbers and said, are those good enough for Zach Wilson to make? You know whose numbers I gave you in the second grouping?
Hit me.
That would be Tom Brady's first year as a quarterback, taking over for Drew Bledsoe, as you pointed out. Thank you very much, Mo Lewis. Those were the numbers Brady put up, and he went on to become the greatest of all time. So I was just wondering if those kind of numbers, if they can't buy Jalen Hurts the starting job, what really are we doing with the Eagles?
Well, different era of football. It's weird to say that in, the guy's still playing.
Yeah.
We'll talk about a different generation of football. That's literally a different generation of football. I think the number is 92.3. I had it memorized for years and years and years because that was Joe Montana's final passer rating for his career, which was unbelievable. And now is middle of the road.
Right.
So, yeah, it's 92.3. I just looked it up. That to me was like 714, 755. I always remembered it. Now it's you're average at 92.3.
Right.
And you go back to Tom Brady's first year to right now. Look, I mean, the game has changed so much. You have to put up better numbers than that, or you're not a very good quarterback.
Just notice this as I got Brady's numbers up here. In that year where he came in off the bench, ends up leading them to the Super Bowl, beats the greatest show on turf as a second-year quarterback. He's in the same position as Mr. Hurts in that he was on the team game year one, but only got into one game. Yes, Hurts got into 4. He was actually sacked. He played in 15 games. He started 12. He was sacked 41 times that first year. The most that Brady was ever sacked in his career was his first year as a starter, and he didn't even start all the games. And he got sacked 41 times. So,
and by the way, Jody, I just looked it up. 102.2 was Tom Brady's passer rating last season at the age of 43.
That's not too shabby, and that's one of the reasons why the Buccaneers were able to walk off with a Super Bowl. All right, we'll take a time out here. We hope, we believe we are going to be joined by one Eitan Shander. He is due to join us here on Birds 365, so keep it right here.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.